The time has come and Lagiacrus has returned. Title Update 2 for Monster Hunter Wilds has dropped, bringing with it several different features that fans have been waiting for, and there are a great many things to discuss, so discuss I shall. The first thing, the most glaring, the hot topic recently, the elephant in the room if you will, is of course the performance. Now I've said before, and I will reiterate, that I personally have not experienced much in the way of performance issues, and my enjoyment of Monster Hunter Wilds has not been affected. No crashes, no drastic frame drops, no graphical glitches, it just hasn't been my experience, and the only time it chugs a bit is when I have my screen capture software open at the same time. But that was the case for Monster Hunter World as well, so maybe I just need a better processor or something. That said, obviously there is a very vocal cohort of the fanbase that this is an issue for on PC, and that's a real shame. I would hate to think that Monster Hunter's goodwill is being forever tainted by these issues, but I'm also not a game developer, and as such I have no idea how easy or hard this is to fix. I certainly don't envy them though. People have been going absolutely nutty mode with the Monster Hunter slander recently online. I even contributed to the negativity myself with my last video. Probably poorly timed, if I'm being honest, but the point of that was to highlight a feature I don't like in a game that I do like, not to make matters worse. So, sorry about that. Given all of that, my personal experience is overall a positive one. I can't speak for those that are having issues, and you've probably heard just about enough of it by now anyway. You might think I'm a Capcom glazer or whatever, and that's totally fine. Get it off your chest in the comments down below. I'm all ears. But for now, I'm just going to continue enjoying Monster Hunter Wilds. Alright, so onto the content. The biggest draw of this title update is of course the long-awaited return of Lagiacrus. And yes, I'm saying it like that because I think the way that they say it in-game is super dumb. Lagiacrus is by all definitions a fan favorite monster. Just look at the player's choice poll from last year. This guy came in third, despite not showing up in Generation 5 at all, which was when the vast majority of the current player base joined in. And it's easy to see why it's so popular. It's a gigantic blue crocodile that explodes in lightning. It's just pretty sick. Laggy has been requested for so long that in both World and Rise's press cycles, the devs had to explain why it specifically wasn't returning. But times change, and I have to say, I think they've done the King of the Seas justice. Lagiacrus appears as an Apex level addition to the Scarlet Forest, and from its intro cutscene, you can already tell that they were cooking. The whole thing is a callback and homage to Monster Hunter Tri's intro cutscene, the game that Lagiacrus first appeared in and was the flagship of. It replicates some of those shots as it fights Arathlos, and was a great reference that I'm sure many an old fan greatly appreciated, myself included. Then there's the new combat. Lagiacrus is a monster that was designed to be fought underwater, as that was one of the draws of Monster Hunter Tri, and as such its translation to land has always been a little bit lackluster because it feels out of its element. Well, let me say that they certainly fixed that this time around. Lagiacrus has hands. Its first fight is fine as is standard for your first encounter for most monsters. It's super manageable, doesn't do that much damage, and gives you opportunities to learn the new elements that are going on. It faithfully replicates and enhances a lot of its old moves, it borrows some capability from Ivory Lagiacrus, and overall is much more competent out of the water now. And then you get to the tempered version. I had yet to be so utterly destroyed by anything in Wilds prior to fighting tempered 5-star Lagiacrus. This thing just completely folded me. It caught me off guard. Like, Mizu hits hard, sure, but Laggy was just so unrelenting, I felt like I had whiplash after the fight. In a good way. Pause, quick little self-plug. If you like this video or any other video on this channel, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, do all that good algorithmic stuff because it really helps the channel grow and I would really appreciate it. So yeah, thanks guys. All right. Told you to be quick. Back to the video. The running theme of increased difficulty in these title updates is something that the fanbase has been asking for with Wilds, and I can't think of a better monster to showcase that than Lagiacrus. The availability of multiple different levels, ranging from, I think, 3-star regular Laggy to the 5-star tempered one, means that players can enjoy it without being one-shot if that's not their vibe. Though there is yet to be a great way to pick exactly where you want to be on that scale, because aside from the optional quest, you're at the mercy of RNG spawning the one you want. I think they need to implement a function to like scale up and down your investigations or make them permanent or something. Just some change that lets you be a little bit more in control. And of course, we cannot forget to mention the underwater segment of the fight. So alongside Lagiacrus, the Scarlet Forest map itself also had an additional section added to it, which is Laggy's Nest, and immediately adjacent to it is an underwater section that allows you to freely swim around and fight it in its intended environment. And it is quite frankly, the coolest fucking thing ever. Now I will say that I quickly went from absolutely loving it at first to being a bit over it a few hunts in because it happens every single fight. And also, I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate recently, so when I go underwater, I try to of default to those controls and that playstyle, and it just screws me over a bit. Not that it's super different, but seems to mess me up. But I have now looped back, I've come full circle, and I love it again. To have this extra touch that by no means needed to be included, but has been included, is just really exciting, and I hope more monsters get these little bespoke touches in the future. It's super immersive, even if somewhat limited. So Lagiacrus is back, and has been done justice, I think. It's challenging, gorgeous, immersive, and all around maybe one of the best Monster Hunter experiences ever, especially for someone like myself who is very fond of the 3rd generation. Now they just need to add like Agnactor to the oil well basin, and I will die happy. But that's not all. As a surprise announcement just prior to the update's release, we were also shown that none other than Cerrigios would be added as well, taking flight in the Windward Plains, and if you weren't already convinced that this game is Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, then I don't know what to tell you. Cerrigios is encountered immediately after Lagiacrus as it attempts to eat a secret and several small children from Kunafa. Now, I have never been a huge Cerrigios fan in the past, I was never much interested in it originally, but I liked its rendition in Sunbreak, and now I absolutely love its rendition in Wilds. It stays true to form as it hops around, kicking and swooping down on the player from all different angles. It's a chaotic fight for sure, and yet it's one that feels just right in Wilds. Cerrigios is very much at home in the Windward Plains too, and can also be found in Wyvera sometimes, and frankly, I kind of expected to see it in more maps, given its reputation as an invasive monster, but apparently that's not the case. And now a few thoughts on Lagiacrus and Cerrigios as a collective. Firstly, it is awesome that we were given a new power clash for both of these monsters. This is a mechanic in Wilds I thoroughly enjoy and gives a little taste of the cinematic without being too intrusive, and my only issue is that they are simply not common enough. Not every monster has one, and every monster should have one. I think both these monsters fit nicely into their primary locale as well, and they both have turf wars with the respective apex of that region. Now, whilst they are each more difficult in game than the apexes, it is nice that they don't just destroy them in the turf war. In fact, one of them outright loses. Raidao and Uthduna are the apex monsters for a reason. I think they both do an excellent job of encapsulating what their monster class is going for, Leviathan and Flying Wyvern respectively, and have had a lot of love put into their depictions here. I will say that I wonder if the intention is to add a new monster to each map that rivals the apex of that region by the time we get to the end of the title update cycle. Not counting Arkveld, we now have 2 monsters to challenge Uthduna in the form of Mizitsune and Lagiacrus, 1 to challenge Raidao in Cerrigios, and so who can we expect for New Udra and Jindahad? Or more likely Gormagala, given that Jindahad doesn't actually freely roam the Ishard Cliffs. As my own personal bias, and given the love that Leviathans have received so far in Wilds, I do really want to see Agnactor again, and I think it would be a fitting monster to challenge New Udra, and if not, then it's got to be Brachydios, because I just love him so much. As for the Ishard Cliffs, we all want to see Gammoth again. I really want to see Gammoth again, but let's be real folks, Gammoth is not fitting on that map. It just wouldn't ever even bother trying to navigate the terrain, unfortunately. So an obvious pick is Barioth if we're sticking to non-elders, but I think it would be cool to see Gosarag again. Maybe it can get some revenge for getting destroyed by Gore in the Rise cutscene, or even Lunagaron would be a great addition as well. Or, get this, Ukenlos throwing down with Jindahad. Come on, don't act like that isn't a cool idea. Imagine you're in the middle of a Jindahad hunt, near the end, down in that hole, and a Ukenlos explodes out of the ground or through a wall, steals your kill, and now you've got to fight that thing instead. That would be pretty sick. So those were the big draw, right? The new monsters are always the best part of any new Monster Hunter content, but that's not all for the update. Uthduna is getting an arc-tempered version at some point. I just don't get why they insist on these things being limited time events. Like, you don't have to have them roaming the maps, that's fine, they can be quest-only monsters, but why limit them? It's just like drumming up false, fake, returning... I don't know, it just doesn't make sense, man. Just let us verse them anytime, all the time. Come on. Lagiacrus and Cerrigios equipment was added, of course, with a weapon for every type as far as I can tell, including a Lagiacrus insect glaive, which did not previously exist, which is just amazing to see. And of course, the long-awaited addition of layered weapons. This is a very welcome change for most folks because the consensus tends to be that artisan weapons kind of look awful and just don't fit with Monster Hunter, even though they tend to be the most optimal weapon to use, so it's nice to be able to swap out the visuals like you can with your armor. I personally really love the design for Jindahad and Zhuwu greatswords, so I'll be using those layered appearances a whole lot. Speaking of weapons, most got some form of buff or change, but the greatsword didn't, so I am unaffected. And I'm also not versed enough in each other weapon to be able to speak on how effective the changes were. You'll need to go and watch your favorite weapon specialist YouTuber to get more information on that. That said, the hammer did get a few significant gameplay changes, including new offsets and follow-up attacks, So I have been trying that out and it feels pretty damn good. There's several performance improvements, slight gameplay updates, bug fixes, and paid DLC additions as well that I don't really care to speak on. There's patch notes for that. But the final feature added that I quite enjoy is the option to swap your handler from Alma to Eric. Now, I've never had an issue with any of the handlers. I think they're all fun in their own right, and I do really like Alma. But it's just nice to be able to shake it up a bit. I can only hear Alma remind me that I can carve materials from severed parts or pick up anything the monster drops so many times in a row before I get a little bit tired of it. So now I have Eric to tell me that instead. This addition makes perfect sense, really. They went the extra mile to make these characters a more focal part of the story, give them a ton of personality, and we get to see the hunters on display as support hunters, so having a chance to get some more out of Eric is great because I really like him. I think he's a fun, fruity little guy. Plus, Eric was briefly your handler during the story, so the groundwork and voice lines and whatnot are already there. So why not use them? And there you have it, Title Update 2, effectively the Lagiacrus update. It's a great time if your PC can run it or you're a console gamer. It is a real bummer that these performance issues persist, and I genuinely hope that they resolve them and at least acknowledge them because they aren't doing themselves any favors if they're going to ignore it. The content in the update is spot on to what I wanted in Monster Hunter Wilds, and it only makes me more excited for what Title Update 3 might bring. That's all for me today, folks. I'll catch you on the next one. See you later.